going, guys? Sean here, and I want to talk to you guys today about my favorite user knives. And now I've definitely owned more knives than this right here, but if I had to kind of break it down from when I started to where I'm at now, as far as what got the most pocket time, what were my favorite knives for that time in which I had them. And starting up here, we have the Kershaw Knockout, and this is kind of one of those knives that really started it all for me. I remember spending the 55 bucks, not on this particular knife, this is a replacement. I actually lost someone that I had. Oh man, I'm pretty shook up about that. But this was the first kind of expensive knife that I bought. At that time, 55 bucks, I was kind of a little shy, a little embarrassed, I guess, to tell my buddy that I spent 55 bucks on a pocket knife. A pocket knife, 55 bucks, crazy. From there, I just really noticed, I really started to appreciate the kind of better attention, to detail. 55 bucks, 60 bucks, it really got me a lot, and enjoyed that. I remember it had the assist opening there with the flipper, the deep carry, the nice thin carry as well, the 14C 28N Sandvik steel, which everyone said was, pretty good. Fantastic. I remember at the time I couldn't open pocket knives really fast, so I thought SpeedSafe was the best thing since sliced bread. It was awesome. I was a little disappointed in the steel, the edge holding, and that's when I realized, there's probably a whole world of possibilities out there. So this is what really kicked it off. The next knife I purchased actually isn't here. It was a Spyderco Manix 2. Once I got that thing in my hand at the store, I was just like, oh my god, I have to. I've got to check out more. So from there I bought this one right here, which was definitely my favorite everyday carry for a long while. The Spyderco Endura. Fantastic. VG10 blade steel, which I did notice more edge holding, better sharpening than I thought the 14C28N. And I was just enthralled with this knife right here. I also kind of had to learn how to open these pocket knives a little bit faster since I didn't have that SpeedSafe anymore. But, it wasn't too hard. I'm not complaining. Yeah, you just sit around and you just play with your knife all day until you can just open it real quick. But yeah, the VG10, I remember I had that on a kitchen knife, a Shun in VG10, and I thought to myself, man, that knife skill is awesome. I definitely got to get a pocket knife with that. From there, it was only a matter of time before I picked up a Delica. Not this particular Delica, but also a black-handled one, but in the full flat grind. My wife has since taken that knife from me, and I don't think I'm ever going to get it back. In fact, I even have another one in orange, just a bright orange with VG10. And yeah, my brother-in-law, he took that one from me. So I think definitely, as far as my family goes, the VG10, just Delica, is probably the favorite knife. This one's in half 40. Definitely like this knife so much that I was like, man, you know what? I should just get the half 40 version. And when you're first looking at this knife, I remember trying to sell it to myself, and I looked at this knife, and it's just not very attractive looking knife. You look at the dimensions as far as how it compares, to your Spyderco Endura, and you're just like, man, that's a really tiny knife. Like, why would anybody carry that around? But I think when I first started to realize, when I first started to carry it around, I realized that's really about all you need as far as for blade size. And the fact is that an everyday carry knife means that you would carry it no matter what the situation is, where you go, what you're doing, what your wardrobe is. You can carry this knife anywhere, anytime. It's fantastic. I mean, you see guys that talk about how, you know what, I'm only going to carry a giant blade. That's all I'm ever going to carry. I like big blades. And then you ask them, hey man, where's your blade at? And they're like, I left it in my car. It's just kind of like, I don't know, when I sit down or whatnot, it's just kind of uncomfortable. That defeats the purpose of an everyday carry knife if it's not on you. If you're going to carry a rack of big blade, it better be on you. Otherwise, carry something that you don't even know is there. And that really kind of opened up my world to smaller blades, because I remember at the time I was like, man, I got to get some of my money's worth. I got to get a blade. I thought the Delica was just way too small. So from there, kind of got way into it and ended up purchasing this knife, and it was a very expensive knife, I remember, but it definitely kind of fits in between these two when it comes to size. The durability, it's much thicker. It's not a slicer, and at the time I just I wasn't into any knife that wasn't a slicer. It's a folding knife. It should be super, super sharp, super slicey. But from here, I realized that, man, having a blade with some meat on it that can really tackle a lot of tasks, in fact, even stuff that maybe it shouldn't be used for, which doesn't matter to me because I could sharpen. you know, I think sharpening is definitely an important skill to have if you're into pocket knives, or any knife for that matter. It's really crucial. But with this knife, I mean, oh, it's just fantastic. The neutral handle could really choke up on the blade and cut boxes open, you know, stuff like that. And then just the action was just so smooth, you know, just open and close so nicely. I just thought that was fantastic. The warranty, I think, is really what I thought was exciting about this knife. And it really made me kind of use this knife a lot more than I thought I would. I bought it. It was very expensive at $260, and I thought to myself, man, it's just too expensive to use. But once I kind of learned more about Benchmade's warranty, especially, you know, after using their butterfly knives and having to always send those in for repairs, for screws and stuff like that, since I'm just using it so much, you know, always, you know, adjusting the action, this and that, then I realized that, you know what, a lot of that money is going into like a pit crew service. Like, they're there for you. They're there to like fix the blade up for you if anything goes wrong, you know, as far as just adding new hardware, new pocket clips. You can even buy a completely new blade for this when you sharpen it away for $25. I mean, from there, I was just like, okay, let's go. And I really just started using this knife a lot, and I really started to enjoy it, and I stopped caring so much about wearing it away, because I know that there's support for it. You know, with your Spyderco stuff, there sadly just isn't that support. And I'm not saying that there should be, and definitely it allows the cost of these knives to be much lower than what the Benchmade's cost. But there's definitely something to say for having that service there. You know, and it's fantastic. You just enjoy a much higher performance knife in some ways, you know, because the action's that much faster. And there's no doubt it's just faster and smoother, you know. And then I do like the S90V blade steel. It's pretty fun. You know, I got that thing probably too polished. It really probably needs more of a toothy edge, but man, I really like a good polished edge. Just a sharp freak. So, you know, from this knife, this was probably my top carried knife into 2015. All of 2016, I just haven't really reviewed this knife. You know, I haven't really talked about it to you guys because I was just too busy using it and carrying it to really, I don't know, care about sharing. And there's other knives I was checking out too to see. You know, I've reviewed those and since sold those, like the ZT450. Yeah, just wasn't there. The Benchmade 765, I thought I could enjoy something that was maybe a little cheaper than Sebenza, but maybe had, you know, I like Benchmade's warranty a lot, but it just wasn't there. So I ended up selling that one too. So now we're at where I'm at right now, which is the Chris Reeve Large and Cosi. And I gotta say, oh, I'm really impressed with this knife. I really, really enjoy carrying this knife, using this knife. You know, the services offered by Chris Reeve, I don't feel like are as, how do I want to say this? It really costs a lot less to get some of the services from Benchmade. But at the same time, Chris Reeve also offers similar services. You have like that pit crew that I'm talking about, you know, that take care of you. You know, if you enjoy using your knife and you want something that's just going to last, I mean, they're there for you. It's got the support. And not enough people, I feel like, put enough emphasis on that, or as far as like, what, you know why that's kind of important. And the thing is, if you're using your knife, it wears away. There's nothing you can do about that. But I have noticed with this knife in particular, actually, that it really seems to hold its, I guess, the detent, that ceramic detent. It just doesn't flatten out. And it's still got the same detent pressure that it had out of the box because it's ceramic. Usually what happens is they get flattened out. But, oh, I finally got that action where I want. And, you know, I'm really enjoying this knife. And so this thing hasn't been out of my pocket for like the past, I don't know, what is that, week and a half, 2 weeks? And I'm really just enjoying this knife. Yeah, I think that definitely this is where it's at. And we'll definitely cover some more details for sure. But it is kind of funny, isn't it, if you just kind of stop to think about when somebody, you know, comments on your video about, man, I can't believe you spent that much on a knife. You were that guy, you know, at one point. You were the guy that, you know, had a hard time spending that much money on a pocket knife. But then, through just use and experience and learning about knives, you then became that guy. Now, I'm not saying you need this knife to appreciate knives or you need this knife to be a knife guy, but, oh, this certainly is a really, really sweet knife. And we'll talk about it some more in some other videos. Alright, guys. Thanks for watching.